Welcome to everybody who is here. I just got to tell you, what's the longest prompt you've ever run in ChatGPT? I mean, I'm sure plenty of y'all have run prompts in ChatGPT, but anybody care to weigh in on that? Laura?
I'm just thinking, I ask simple questions, So, I mean, we're talking 8, 10, 15 seconds. I mean, not very long at all. I was amazed at how quickly it came back with, and now mine was more about the marketing content, things about what we do. But, and I know the developers have been doing things, but I'll have to ask them, what?
Okay. Well, I'm running one now, and it's been running for 40 minutes.
Oh.
I've never done anything like that in my life, but it's absolutely nutso. But what I'm having it do, I don't know whether you've ever had it do. We've skipped the introduction. I'm gonna have to go back and do the introduction, but I thought I would just ask that question to see if anybody's had this experience. But I'm actually. Brian, feel free to unmic and speak, and that so you're welcome to. Anybody who wants to chat can unmic and speak. That's how we rolled, But the prompt itself is a short one, and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. But anyway, I'll rewind and we'll introduce the whole show to everybody who hasn't been here before. And give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. So I have a million screens going too, so y'all just have to forgive my ADD self, but that's how it goes. All right, so I am, in fact, John Munsell, and we have decided to put on these things weekly for 10 weeks. We may continue them, but it's basically a discussion on how you can leverage artificial intelligence, specifically in marketing, but anything that you can use in marketing, you could use throughout the organization. I'm also co-hosted with my buddy, Andy Slifer, who is in Dallas. Andy is a fractional CMO. He'll be with us for the first half, and then he has to jump for the second half. But I specialize in helping companies integrate marketing or integrate AI into marketing, but I really specialize in helping companies build strong internal marketing teams so they can grow faster on smaller budgets. Andy, I'll let you talk about yourself for a couple secs.
Sure. I've been a fractional CMO for about the last 10 to 12 years. What I do is essentially help clients build integrated marketing systems that actually work and help them get there faster. So I run in generally 6-month sprints with clients, and it may start with a strategic marketing plan, which I help them build from the ground up. And then from there, we start executing, and ultimately, like John said, I want them to get on their feet so that they can be executing on their own without me. So my job is really to work myself out of a job ultimately.
Yeah, same here. So just to go around the room, I see a bunch of people that haven't been here before. A lot of guys like Bob Lyles, John Thompson. Good to see you, John. Laura, good to see you as well. I know Charles Carne is in here, and we got newer faces: Tyler, Christy, Michaela, or is it Michaela, Brian, Alexander, good to see you back. Keith Gibson, ladies and gentlemen. Keith Gibson, good to see you here, buddy. Haven't seen you in a while. And Keith and I go all the way back to Tampa, Florida days. At any rate, I want to show you this. This is the craziest thing I've ever done, and I have to pay attention to it because it is still running. Let's just get it to keep running. And I'll explain to you what I'm doing now. Here we go. Okay, so I have to give you some backstory on this. So this is what we do when we're working with a client. We'll teach them what we call the optics framework, and that's how you build a strong internal marketing operation by going through these 6 phases of marketing. And that's how you build a strong team, but it's also how you build a strong process. It's how you build an effective campaign. So the first phase, if y'all can see that, okay, I'll try to zoom it up, is the orient phase, which is where we get a handle on where you are, what was past performance. Essentially, where do you stand today? The predict phase is where do you want to go? As you get good at this, you end up with some sort of metrics that you'll understand where you know if I'll put $1 in marketing in this channel, I'll get 3 back. And so you can actually predict if the CEO says we want to grow 20% this year, and that means $3 million in revenue, you can do a little prediction based on your past performance and figure out what you need to do in order to get there. The target phase is all about who are we talking to, what's going on with them psychologically, who is our ideal customer, what's the ideal product we can push to them to leverage our P&L the best way possible. The implement phase is what I call building the machine. That's what are the tactics that we're going to do. Are we going to build a new website? Are we going to build a new outdoor campaign? Are we going to do cold email, internal email marketing, et cetera? Calibrate phase is all about making sure that you have the right metrics so that as these machines are running, you know how to tweak them so that the trajectory is always true and you're going to end up getting at the end result where you're trying to go. The sync phase is about syncing with all of the objectives throughout the organization. So whatever the C-suite wants to do in terms of growth, you need to know about it. Whatever HR wants to do in terms of growth, as a marketer, you need to know about it. So we have quarterly meetings so that all of that is synchronized. That, if you haven't figured it out, is the acronym for optics. But that leads me to what in the heck is still running over here in ChatGPT. It is still running. I'll show you. What I did was, all right, so we have, and some of y'all have seen this before, we have a prompt database over here that we use for various AI tools. Looks like I got it. Yeah, I pulled the CSV file out because that was the prompt that I was using. We also have a list of AI tools used in marketing, okay? And if y'all want access to this, I'll give you access to this. This is the crazy thing. A year ago, about this time, there were maybe 5 tools on this list. It just is expanding forever. We're up to 74 now. There are hundreds of them. You know, I'm not going to try to get all hundreds of them, but what I wanted to try to do was say in each of these phases, in the orient phase, the predict phase, the target phase, what are some AI tools that we can use to really build a strong marketing team? So it's not just about, hey, can I get something to write copy, right? You know, can we use Copy AI or ChatGPT? But are there other tools that will give us insights that we can use in those various phases of marketing? Does that make sense, guys? Y'all wave, sneeze, whatever, if that makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So this mother of all prompts. Okay. Hey, it looks like it's at the end. This concludes. Okay, so now I have to ask it if it'll do this. Hopefully this will do this. We're doing this live. If this breaks, I'm going to be really upset because it has now almost been running for an hour, 50 minutes. This thing has been running. So let's see if it'll do.
I like, John, how you're being polite by saying please first.
Well, you know, you got to kiss butt where you can, right? So sometimes in AI, the A exceeds the I, and other times you want to pander to the I, right?
He's just getting ready for when there are overlords. They remember what
whoops.
Please, it may try harder. It's a reward.
All right, let's see if it'll do it, guys. Drum roll, please.
Are you?
All right, there we go. All right. Okay, so with that, I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top and show you this beast. Look how small the scroll button is. That'll show you what kind of data we got on here. But I gave it background on what optics is. All right, so this is basically training the AI with information. Now, it could go out because I'm using GPT-4 and I have enabled these 3 plugins. This one is Web Pilot, so it can now actually go out and scan the web and bring back information. I could have had it do that, but I wanted to just give it tighter context. So I gave it this framework. So I said, okay, here's what optics is. Here are the various phases of optics. Here's how we implement it. And then I start with the prompt. So this is the technique that we use when we're building complex prompts for ChatGPT. So I isolate it with some pre-prompt information. Then I give it the prompt and I said, look, I want you to review all this stuff. I'm going to give you a CSV table and I want you to analyze it. Then I want you to ask me, certain questions, because what I'm trying to do is basically tell it, we want to have a dialogue here, you and me, and I want to make sure you're getting it as I go along. All right. And so then I'm saying, ask me first, what kind of information is in the table? And second, what analysis do you want me to provide? And then ask me if there's any other information, because every now and then you tell it to go analyze a CSV file when it blows up, right? So then I said, when you're finished, I want you to tell me, and then I'm going to give you the CSV table. Okay, so that makes it a multi-step process. So it says, sure, I get it. What information is present in the data? So what I did was, in this Notion database, originally, we had a whole lot of them. We had like 49 of them in there, I believe, 49 or 50 of them in there. But we weren't sure what phase of optics they were in. All right. So what I did was I uploaded it into there and I said, okay, what I want you to do is analyze that, right? So you can see, give me a list. Here's a list of tools. It says, okay, what kind of analysis you want me to provide? I said, all right, I want you to rewrite it and I want you to append the optics column with the phases that they're in. Okay, gotcha. All right, now give me the CSV file. So I said, tell me what's in it. So I describe what's in it. It says, thanks. See, it's being polite to me. So I figure turnabout is fair play, right? So then I paste in the CSV file. In the event you guys are ever thinking about doing this, make sure that your CSV file, any column in it, has no commas. It freaks out when it does that. So get rid of the commas, because it's truly thinking it's a comma separated value format, not a tab separated value format. So just know that if you're going to paste it in there. So I paste the beast in there. All right. And I exported it from the Notion file, by the way, pasted it in there. And here we go. It goes into Web Pilot, because I told it, I said, look, because it said, where is the information that I'm going to use? And I said, well, we have a column in there that'll give you a description, but if you can't use that column, this column has the URL. Well, it's deciding to look at the URL first for every one of them, so you can see it continuously uses Web Pilot. And it just goes on for days and days and days. But then, like I said, now, could we have done this manually faster? I don't know. But it created the whole thing. Now, here we go. It's typing. It's still running. Geez whiz. Oh, well, that's a nice aside, but it's interesting. So I have to, forgive me, because I'm going to have to keep tabs on this, because every now and then, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you got to hit continue to keep going. So I'll have to check in from time to time and hit continue. How many of you guys are using GPT-4? Anybody? Ferris? John, you're using it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. You are, Bob? All right, cool. Okay, so in GPT-4, as those of you who are aware, you basically can make 25 queries inside of a 3-hour time frame, and then they throw you in what we call ChatGPT jail. So my big concern with this particular prompt was, every time it responds to one of these things, where I have to tell it to continue, that's one of those queries. So I was afraid that it would throw me in jail before it finished this thing. See, now it's finished and I have to continue again. Let's see if I don't think I've hit my 25 on this, but anyway, it'll keep rolling. And anyway, lots of stuff you have to be concerned about, but this was interesting. Oh, shoot. Oh, well, we'll see what it does. Anyway, we keep going. All right. So some of you are like kind of brand new to AI. So tell me which ones of you are like totally new. Mitch, I see you nodding your head. What's your experience? Laura, you are? Get out of the city. Bob, you too?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me what you think, what drove you to this other than my lovely and talented face and friends? What drove you to come here? What are you trying to get out of this?
I was told there'd be hot women in this. I wanted to meet women. Maybe this is the wrong chat room I'm in. I don't know.
Oh, Bob.
There you go, Bob. She hadn't changed much.
I'd like to point out there are 2 different Bobs. Just to be clear.
That just in case it goes on record that you're not the one that said that. All right. Oh Lord. Okay. Tyler says, I love to take a look and contribute to the list of prompts. Yeah, sure. Mostly ChatGPT, looking to test out Bard next, just looking to stay up on to date and learn other perspectives. Yeah. So there's a significant difference, obviously, between Bard and ChatGPT, but there are so many other tools out there. The question I have, it's almost like cryptocurrency. Which ones are scams and which ones are going to just flame out and which ones are going to stick around? So I don't want to invest a whole lot. Igor and I had some exchanges on this as well, because it's changing so fast. The question is, how much do you really want to invest if you're trying to build a custom AI application? How much do you really want to invest? Because it's changing so fast, it's hard to stay up with it. Like, for instance, our prompt database, most of our prompts are built around ChatGPT, but it's changing pretty rapidly. And so some of the prompts, I wouldn't say they necessarily break, but we've had to put tighter and tighter controls inside of those prompts to keep ChatGPT from running off the rails, Christy says, I've just started using it to help me write social media posts for the company. I'm not a very good writer, so it's helped me. Okay, so Christy, there are a bunch of things that you need to know about that, because ChatGPT, unless you really train it in your voice, it'll write repetitive stuff. And our team is so used to it, we can spot an AI generated stuff better than probably some of these tools out there, because it says the same stuff. For instance, one of the words that I just can't stand anymore is skyrocket, because ChatGPT wants to say it every single time you throw something in there. So anyway, our prompts are fairly sophisticated, where literally we have almost 40 different parameters that we can put into a prompt to really put it into a box. We call it the brand voice DNA, where we'll actually take some of your blog posts that you have written, where you say, okay, this is the style. This is if a human wrote them, right? This is the style. We'll analyze that inside of ChatGPT, turn around and give you these variables, and then they become the pre-prompt for anything that you write, so that it sounds more like you and it doesn't go off the rails so bad, but it gets you a whole lot better response. Brian says, blog posts for my SaaS business, but the posts don't get many views. How do you fix that? Well, there are several things for that. That's kind of an SEO thing. If you're using ChatGPT straight out of the box, as I would call it, it's probably creating a 500-word post, and that's not going to do you much good. So you really need to train it to give you a good 1,200 to 1,800-word post, and that's the kind of stuff that we've trained it to do. And you have to link out to stuff. There's a lot to that question, Brian, but we have stuff where we can assist you with that. But I want to kind of loop back to Laura and Mitch. What is it that you want to get out of this, or get out of AI, that you haven't really gotten so far?
Really, for me to kind of understand the tools better. And I liked your point about fine tuning what you're asking it, because we've used a tool, we use ChatGPT to help with our blogs for our website.
Okay.
And I'm just speaking on behalf of the marketing side and not the development. They're doing other magic stuff. But the interesting thing, we found a tool called Cohesive, and it really helped us. You can do the simple one, or do the, after so many posts, you got to pay for more, or
Right.
in jail. But we haven't done a lot of it. But it's just, what can we do? I had to take what the results that were produced and Terry's eyes it, Laura eyes it, like make it more of a real person than what you can tell is obviously computer generated thing. And also pull in maybe some examples. I was talking about software development and how it can save time, money, whatever, and put some real world client examples or business problems that were solved.
Yeah. So from the software side, there's a lot that you can do to speed stuff up. I mean, it's insane what you can do there. Obviously, that's a threatening proposition as well. Mitch, how about yourself?
So, my industry has been labor intensive in terms of research. I'm an attorney, and I handle real estate transactions for the most part. I handle a lot of estate planning and that kind of stuff. But for decades now, it's all been physical research. So I do think that there's some value in this in a number of different ways. First of all, let me tell you, I'm probably the least technologically advanced person on this call, but I do see that there's some value in this, in first of all, marketing, in some of our marketing efforts. Secondly, I see some value in saving me time in drafting some documents such as successions or wills and things like that. So I'm interested to see what I can do and how I can make this work for my industry.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do. In fact, I'll just kind of show you, if I were to go over here and just do a filter for category, and I were to just hit legal. All right. So these are some of the tools that you can use. So this one finds cases. That's insights across your firm, save you time, document review, legal research, motions, memos, depositions, etc. This is an interesting one. Scans real world data to direct hardware. I don't know what that is. What are victims? I guess this is if you were in the personal injury space, but you're not in that space. But this could be interesting.
Yeah, and John, one of the things, I attended a seminar a couple of months ago, and we had a presentation by some LSU professors who are explaining to us how valuable this process is in their industry. They're teaching the students to use AI in formulating. Now, the one thing that they said is you do have to go back and make sure that the cases are accurate and that the information is accurate, because they said, according to them, AI likes to make up stuff sometimes. So we just have to go back and make sure that that information is correct.
Yeah, you probably read about that case. I forgot where it is, but recently, like in the last 30 days, some attorney got into really hot water because he used it to cite case law, and ChatGPT completely hallucinated on the case law and the experiences and all that stuff. And not a good look. Not a good look.
You can put some tuning prompts in there though to keep it from wandering around too much. That's the trick there.
Yeah, that's the idea. John, you had mentioned something in the chat. You said you added a comprehensive reference guide, and it still went outside the rails. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we're a critical chain methodology platform, and when even we don't mention critical paths and so on. That's a simple example. It did other things, but it actually went outside the parameters of our data that we fed it and said, only stick to this data. Here's the CSV, read this, and give us when we started asking it questions. The second comment I have, I'm going to give it a high school level answer. When our reference guide is full of kind of expertise level, and it's still kind of genericized it and turned it into maybe high school level USA Today kind of writing, in terms of the response. Yeah. Good and bad, meaning the average user can use it. You don't have to be an expert, and they could interpret it, but it still went outside the parameters and fetched other knowledge that it seemed to pollute what we were saying. It was injecting, and it used a lot of adjectives.
Yeah, it does that. That's where it gets complicated, but you really need to kind of nail it down with some style. We have a YouTube video that shows you kind of briefly how we do it, but we also have a really advanced course that teaches you how to extract those style parameters, but it has to be part of your prompt, and it also has to sit in the session, right? Assuming you're using ChatGPT, now we're using the back end, the playground, and using an API, or were you doing the front end and trying to get it to write stuff?
We were you've got a whole lot of tools that you were showing there. I was wondering if there is a tool that would help us, that would stick it into the parameter, stay within the tram lines that we give it. I don't know if you have some guidance. I know there's two parts that we're still learning the prompts, right? And the second part is which of the applications out there, the tools out there that we could use to really narrow and restrict it and keep the paper relatively technical, but at the same time, any average user can use it. Yeah.
So there are a couple tools out there. Oh, Andy's got to eject already. Oh, man, it's time flown. See you, Andy. There are a few tools out there where theoretically you can train the AI and it'll save that. I haven't played around with them. One is Get Cody, and there was another one I just looked at this morning. The question is whether or not I can remember what it is, but I think I had it filtered as a copywriting tool. Actually, I think I even used the phrase theoretically. Yeah, there we go. Go Charlie. Okay. Have you tried that one?
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. I just came across it yesterday, and Andy must be Andy's meeting must have. You're back.
Yep.
Andy's back. Yeah, so I just came across it yesterday, and if you roll up to the top here, you can see it says train Charlie to you, but I don't know whether it works or not. So love for you to give it a try and let me know.
Sure.
I haven't played around with it, but I know that in ChatGPT you can do it two ways. One is by staying in the session. The other is by rolling it through the API on the back end, but you do have to constantly push it in there. Let me see something. I know, Tyler, you, at the very beginning, you sent a link. Let me go talking with the robots. What's this, Tyler? This is an example of yours. Okay, so you have a lot going on here. This is one heck of a prompt. I don't know whether you can take your mic off and explain it to us, or unless you're unable.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just hiding out in the office.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is just an example. The italics are commentary, and those bolded scripts are the response. But yeah, I just tried to, little inspired by the pop culture, I guess you'd say, of like all this Dungeons and Dragons stuff coming out. I don't play myself, but I thought ChatGPT could, maybe teach me. It could not teach me, but it was fun to start off with until, we reached the limit where, it just started forgetting things that had happened. So, but yeah, no, just kind of a fun example of what you can do. That it started off pretty good, but the part where you're interacting with other characters was pretty low.
Interesting. That's an interesting use case. I would never have thought of that, but that's actually kind of clever. I like that.
I got, I don't know if you guys have heard the other example where people were much more sophisticated than me. Were putting, AI in charge of some of these non-playable characters and had them interact without any player, and they ended up doing things very unexpected, very cool. Not like when it was just more interactive and much more dynamic, I guess is the right word.
Gotcha.
Yeah, John, we're doing a little side project where we're doing that very thing, but for actual non-player characters in an incident response walkthrough simulation. So
that's interesting.
So we're because there are times when you're trying to do an incident response through plan walkthrough with the company, and there's a need for NPCs to interact with the scenario that you're doing, right, to really make it more realistic. And so it's a little side project I got going on, but that's something that I'm doing on the side, and it does work. It's just like everything else. You have to give it context and stay in session and all those things, but it does work. So.
Yeah. So John, kind of on your question, the way we do it is, first of all, each one of these sessions is unique. You probably have figured that out. You can't feed data in here and then create a new chat and have it recognize that data. So you have to stay in that same session, or you have to, if you create a new session, you have to give it the same data. Now, one way to do that is to make sure you're using one of the plugins. Man, I forgot how long this scroll is. One of the plugins that will read a PDF. We use several of them. One of them, I think, is called Summarize Everything or something like that, where we upload the PDF to an accessible URL, and then we tell ChatGPT to read and analyze the PDF, and then the prompt has to kind of tell it to write based on what it knows in the PDF. I don't know what kind of walls you put around. You and I could have another sidebar and look at whatever your prompting strategy is. But when we're putting together prompts, we're stacking information in those prompts, and then we're telling it what to do. And that process really works for us. We have a couple of courses that we go into that. One of them, you can get the first module for free. And in the first module, it kind of explains what that looks like. But this is an example of it where I'm stacking information and I'm giving it that pre-frame, and then I'm asking it to do something. All right. This is one where I actually had it summarize a PDF. Let me see if I have all that stuff. So this is actually a call that I had with buddy David Melizia, and so I had it look at the transcript. Okay, so I uploaded the PDF to the transcript to the PDF, and then I had turned on these two plugins, and then it goes in and starts to summarize that. And this was a 3.5 hour call. So the transcript alone was 52 pages, right? So it was really cool. I could scroll down and show you more of the prompt, but I would probably get into some personal information that we don't want to get into. But what I ask it to do is I say, I want you to read this transcript, and then I want you to give me problems and pain points and issues and commitments and action items. It's a longer prompt, but it did it. It freaking went through 50 pages of context and then said, okay, John made these commitments. David had these issues. David wants to resolve these issues with, his marketing. It was amazing, but it stuck in those parameters. I know you're probably writing something way more complicated than that, John, but there are ways. The other is to go into the playground. Have you played around with the playground on ChatGPT at all, John? Messing with that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That gets a little bit more complicated as well, but, and you have to pay by the token, and it gets really weird. But if you need help with that, I'd be happy to hop on a call and we'll see if we can help you put some brackets around it. But there are, let me go back to the Notion database on this. The tools are growing, guys, and that is interesting to me. Now, are there, I want to kind of go and pull in Brian. I don't know whether Brian is he on or off the call? He may have left, but he had said he was looking to do stuff with his blog posts about how to fix it, and I'll show you in brief. Let me see if I can do this. If I go into the prompt database and I kill this off, and I go back in here. All right. And there are several ways to make better blog posts. One is to go and subscribe to some of these other tools that we were looking at, and the other is to just stay inside of ChatGPT and get it to do something. And the reason we're high on ChatGPT is because the other tools basically are tapping into ChatGPT, and they're putting their own brackets around it, right? And so you're now trying to put brackets inside of their brackets, right? So you're putting restrictions inside of an already restricted area. So we try to stay inside of ChatGPT so that we can put our own restrictions on it, if that makes sense. So when we're doing like a blog post, we have a long form blog post here, and it's a really long prompt, right? So we give it some context, we give it some parameters, and this is an example of some of the style parameters. There are about 35 of them here. And then we have a long prompt that you can see here that tells it to break this thing down, but it operates a whole lot like the other one that I was showing you, where it's a repetitive thing. It's going to write section by section so that we can make it really long. But we are constantly refining that prompt as well, because if you're familiar with the plugin store, when we started this, there were, 65 in here. Now they're like 400, right? So we're constantly looking at the plugin store to see what's available. Yeah, this is up to 55. When we started, I think there were 8 or 9 pages, right? Faith, you could probably remember. I don't know. It wasn't many, but we're up to 50, 55. So if you do the math, that's a couple hundred. Now, there are several that aren't in the store that theoretically you can tap into. I have no idea how to do that. But the point is that as this technology improves and as these plugins improve, then we can adjust our prompts to tell ChatGPT to use this plugin. Sometimes it will intelligently do it, but you're also limited to 3 plugins. Okay. So you can only use 3 at a time. Now, when you're doing that, the other thing you want to make sure of is that if you know there's a specific plugin you want to use, the way I like to play is I only want to turn that one on, because sometimes it'll get misguided and it'll pull something else. So anyway, I'm hoping I am making sense. Is there anything y'all would like to see or you have other questions about? We've been playing around with this for a couple of years, but really intensely over the last 6 months. Laura, you got anything that you have itching on your brain?
Drinking from the fire hose. I'm making notes on like the plugin tools. I probably deferred, like I mentioned, to that tool Cohesive, which let us ask some good questions and then ran and returned. I mean, and it's interesting. I haven't done as much with asking more questions. Like I got what I wanted and refining the responses.
Yeah.
And haven't done a lot with training, but obviously I think we need to spend the time on training it around, maybe have you like ChatGPT, but is that where you really your go-to? That's who knows bazooka the best, or because you're doing work for your clients, it always varies? Does that my question make sense?
You mean, how do we go ahead?
Yeah, well, one is knowing like your company, what's your branding, what's your style, kind of learning you. But then I spoke about it, I'm like, oh, but you're doing consulting for all of your customers. So it's trying to take what you find and align it around their branding and their messaging and their approach. So I don't know if I asked the right question, but
yeah, I mean, you would have to give me a specific example of use case, and then I could tell you how to bracket it up so that it doesn't go and start writing and injecting your brand into their brand, right? I mean, probably, I don't know that it's a big enough problem for your company, but if you're a marketing agency and or an ad agency or a web designer, you don't want it getting confused. So yeah, there's specific variables you want to put in there so that it knows who are we talking about. And like when we're doing something, we want to make sure that we're talking to a specific customer or an avatar, as we would call it, right? We want it to know what's going on with that avatar. So I want to know what their pains and frustrations are. I want to know what their mistaken beliefs are. I want to know what their ideal solution and outcome is. So, so we can, write to that person without any interference. But at the same time, I'm also telling it, here are the problems that we solve. And so if you can thread your prompt well enough, you can write something that's of value to that ideal customer profile or that ICP, but also cleverly injects the problems that you solve, right? So that it becomes a really valuable post. Does that make sense? Probably not exactly what you asked, but
no, but that really was more of that, because depending on what we're doing for the customer, we're not an ad agency, as you know, we're not those, but it's good to know more about the qualifying and giving it answers back so it can take it and refine. No, I like that, refine what it's producing.
Yeah. Yep. There's a whole lot to it. Now, in our advanced courses, we show you how to make those layers appropriate, and I'm trying to think, we have a training coming up, and let me see if I can find the URL, but anyway, is that? Yeah, there we go. I can paste this in the chat if you want to check it out. But this, where did my chat thing go? There we go. So this is a pretty slick little deal. You can get on the waiting list because the course, I have 4 days to produce this course. I know, right? I got the framework there, but I just remembered, oh boy, I probably overcommitted because we're going out of town this weekend. But anyway, if you roll down here, you can see, I mean, we could do it for you. So we could actually isolate your brand voice for you, or you can hop into the course and it's $597, or you can get, if you get on the waiting list, you save $100. But we get into some really advanced tactics in here, and it's pretty slick, if I do say so myself. And then if that weren't enough, and by golly, don't you think it should be? Let's see. I think, is it this one? I want to make sure I'm getting the right. We have a bunch of these. Yeah, it might be this one. So I'll paste this in there. Also, this is the one where you get access to Module 1 for free. Okay, and Module 1 explains the basic framework for how we produce prompts. All right, so actually, the first few lessons in Module 1 are a little benign for some of you who are more experienced. So you could literally skip through them and go to the final module, because that's where it shows you how to stack prompts and build something pretty sophisticated. But it's really a great primer. But what this ends up doing is this will literally give you the prompt structure for creating a lead magnet. All right. So Laura, for instance, in your business, if you wanted to create an ebook that, I don't know, you pick some kind of an application where your ideal customer profile says, man, if I had this ebook, I could learn something. John, this would be ideal for you because what you produce is so sophisticated, right? So you would use this to produce that ebook. An ebook will typically take you 60 hours between writing the ebook and writing the promotional landing page, writing the thank you page, writing the promotional emails, writing the social media posts. It easily would take you 60 hours. And then if you're outsourcing it, it's going to take you several weeks to get something back. This will do it for you, all of that in an hour. It's absolutely crazy what it'll do. And it'll actually write some pretty good content too, to pitch it. The thing I like most about this is in the second module, it teaches you how to brainstorm ideas so that it comes up with some really clever ideas. And ironically enough, you know, we have to eat our own dog food, right? So as I was producing this, you know, I was like, okay, that's the logical first step. You know, if you want to do an ebook, you're going to sit around the room with your team and go, what do we do? Right? Whether it's an ebook or whether it's a lead magnet, what do we do? And so I just, I like to use ChatGPT. If nobody else is in the room and I'm working late at night, I'm going to ChatGPT and I'm just having a conversation with it and asking it for responses, and it gives me ideas. So I teach you how to do that brainstorming inside of this. And then it gives you ideas, and it's the one that generated the idea for us to produce this course and offer a module for free, you know, which I thought was really kind of cool. I like, that's actually a damn good idea, you know, so we did it, but it's really helpful. Either way, I hope you'll check either one of those out because there's a lot that you can do from it. Questions? You good? Okay. Mitch, in terms of the legal side of things, I can tell you not to have stolen money from you or your team before, but I've had to use ChatGPT to write a non-disclosure agreement, and it did an insane job. I actually uploaded our current NDA, and I said, I want you to look over this and tell me if I'm missing anything. And it came back and it said, actually, yeah, you're missing these 4 things. I'm like, okay, write them for me. It wrote them for me. And I said, okay, can you make this whole agreement, merge it into the entire agreement? It did it. And I said, okay, now, is this compatible with Louisiana law? Well, you're going to want to adjust this or that. I'm like, all right. And it did it. And now I got it. And I was able to turn around an NDA to a client in Hawaii. Hilarious.
Absolutely.
But you'll be able to do a lot with it, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
John, you had some thoughts?
Yeah, I did. I have a comment. Having said that, we try to use the reference guide. What we did is we put our web information and so on, let it read that and say, based on the information out of our reference guide and the information on our website and so on, summarize the steps in order to say something simple like add a new project. Give me the summary steps. It went in and actually created a nice profile of step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a nice summary. I had to edit it and so on, but it was very useful for giving me summaries of, you know, quite comprehensive data and data sets.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Summarize it and tell me the steps to execute. And it gave us pretty good. It needs editing, but it's not bad.
Yeah. Now, see, that's the deal with it and any other tool. It's, I mean, the way I always look at it is, look, I've hired a lot of ghost copywriters in my day to write blog posts and to write articles and to write any number of things. And it takes thousands of dollars in several weeks. And I'm the pickiest copywriter on the planet. And so I'm always having to edit, rewrite, or whatever. The thing I like about this is it's never 100% right, but it's actually, you know, we've got enough parameters built into it to where instead of me having to rewrite, you know, 20 to 40%, I only have to rewrite 5 to 10%. And I get it instantly rather than having to wait a week for the turnaround. You know, that's just ChatGPT. Now, when it comes to other tools like MidJourney, has anybody played around with MidJourney?
Yep.
Okay, Bob, you have, yeah. So MidJourney it's a image generation tool. All right. And in MidJourney, you have to use, let me see if I have it running here. Yeah, you have to use Discord. And inside of Discord, let me see if I, oh man, come on. I didn't think I was going to have to do all this stuff. I am so human. This is like, do we have to go through this? I mean, really.
This requires patience, which is just not going to be one of your things.
Not today. I got 5 minutes and I got to sign off, man. I mean, what in the hell? All right, I'll play the game. What is she doing? All right, I'm gonna guess she's on a scooter.
Scooter.
I'm gonna guess it's a tractor. What's your username? You got my username. Can we switch? Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. I don't want to connect it. This was generated with AI. Okay, and this was the prompt that I used. And you have to know specific parameters and stuff, but you could tell it to make variations. And it's just crazy what it could do. If I can pop it up in the browser, but you can zoom in and it does some really interesting stuff, but it created that with a prompt. It will create images. Let's see if I can find, where did it go? This is where it pays to not be as cluttered as me. All right, so if I were to go into MidJourney and I would go into here so you can actually see some of the images that are being created, they're mind-boggling. These are people actually creating images in MidJourney. And you can see their progression as they keep telling it to refine them. But okay, so look at this. I don't read Spanish, but my guess is he's putting a dog on a Superman outfit. Did that make some sense?
Dog superhero. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. That's interesting. We'll try a different room here. But some of the, yeah, see, that's just interesting artwork there. So you can go all over the board. You can use your imagination. If I could, I'm trying to find one where you see a photo of a human being, because it's amazing how much it has progressed in the last 12 months. Yeah, so here we go. Check these faces out. That's just incredible. My guess is that they're trying to put Chappelle somewhere. I don't know. But it's fascinating what it'll do. Just fascinating.
Yeah, that's the prompt. Dave Chappelle in Africa.
It is. Hey, how about that? It did.
It took Chappelle's face and then did its interpretation of Dave Chappelle. Yeah.
That's right. That's wild. Yeah, I had a feeling that was Chappelle. Let's see. Anyway, we have used this now. Like sometimes when you're like, for instance, I have to modify or update the training on the 60-minute ebook that I just showed you, because we were showing you how to create a prompt in DALL-E, which is ChatGPT's image generator, but it's garbage. I mean, it's still not where it needs to be. But since we created the course, there just happens to be a plugin inside of ChatGPT that will create a prompt for MidJourney. And it does a really good job of doing that. So I need to update that, but I need to tell people to make sure they turn on this particular tool. But it's crazy what AI is doing these days to accelerate stuff. And one of the biggest problems as a marketer is when you're creating a blog post, you have to create a featured image, or when you're creating any kind of a web page, it's nice to break it up with images. So trying to spend hours sniffing through, something like 123RF to find something that is useful, it's easier to just describe it and have ChatGPT produce it. But I will tell you this, if you have more than one person in there, it can really mess with their eyes and teeth. So just know that.
We're probably only about a year or so away and it would be able to produce video clips with completely made up actors.
Oh, no, we're already there.
So, well, yeah, but I mean, readily available, so we can do it like, we can do it. They do have some professional systems, but It's just going to be
No,
commonplace.
there are tools right now, and if I were to, oops, I got to go into the right thing here. I was looking at them yesterday, Bob, and now some of them are really bad in that they're just there's a body from here down that's stationary, and there's a face, and it just and the voice never really sounds like it's the voice that's supposed to be coming out of that face.
Those have been around for years, but like Pictory and a couple other ones that I use, they don't have human actors in them yet, but they'll do a video.
Right.
They'll do a video stigma. I use ChatGPT to build the script that I feed into it, and then it creates a video.
Well, I watched a guy yesterday who recreated a video using AI. Now, you have to do a whole lot of work, right? But what he did is he filmed himself running around the house, and he would snap his fingers as he ran around the house. And then he would have this AI tool replace his whole body with different people or characters every time he snapped his fingers. He goes through the whole process of how he edited. He had to use, editing tools.
Right.
But it was really actually pretty cool. And I was amazed at how much it would replace his movements and everything with what his final character was, Thanos. It didn't do the best job of the face, but it was pretty doggone clever. So yeah, I think you're right. Maybe 6 months from now, we'll have some really hardcore stuff. But Kelly brought my attention to the pizza video, which is kind of interesting. Now, the problem with this is whoever wrote the transcript, obviously.
Are you ready for best pizza of life?
But check this out.
Bring friends down to Pepperoni Hug Spot. Our chefs make pizza with heart and special touch. Cheese, pepperoni, vegetable, and more secret things. Need delivery? Pizza's fast. Knock knock, who's there? Pizza magic. Eat Pepperoni Hug Spot pizza. Your tummy say thank you. Your mouth say, Pepperoni Hug Spot. It's like family, but with more cheese.
So that whole thing was
Are you ready for best
AI? But
the mouths just aren't quite right.
Yeah, no, this is where it really gets creepy right here. You're just like, ooh, I don't know what's wrong with these people, but they came from another planet and got beamed in.
Children of the Corn. Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, Children of the Corn, exactly. All right, guys. Well, anyway, I know we're at the buzzer, so hopefully if this is kind of interesting or worthwhile to you, there's a lot that you could be doing with AI, and we're constantly amazed at how fast things are going. That's why I was showing you that list of tools with literally a year ago was a handful, and now there are hundreds and hundreds of them. The question is, who's going to stick around? And then we're trying to divide it into use cases. So like, I want to be able to use it for analytics. I want to know what's going on, with, like, for instance, if I had an e-commerce store, I really like to know who's buying stuff. You can do that a lot with just data analysis, but having AI do it by you just typing in a question and getting it pretty quickly, that's going to be really interesting. So anyway, if anybody has any last minute thoughts or questions, feel free to impart us with your wisdom. If not,
Sean, we just very briefly, we actually created a project, a template that imported. We just told them the parameters. These are the column headers like task number, task name, duration, and so on. But then we said, create a project to put up a building. And we gave them a house description. And it actually gave us a project. It's pretty scary. Like all the electrics, the drywall, land development, foundation, it actually scheduled the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which tool? ChatGPT
or
another
ChatGPT,
one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, we gave it the columns to put it in, and then it said, okay. Now we had to change the sequence and edit it quite a bit, but it actually came up with how to build a house.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was shocking, actually.
Laura, I'm surprised you haven't used it for programming. You too, Bob. I've actually used it to fix some things, where I'm like, okay, I can't figure out how to do this. Can you write the CSS script to do it? And it would write the CSS script. I turn around, paste it in, and I'm golden. you know.
I know the guys have done it for like some code reviews and other things. They'll have dev lunches and review projects. So I know it's definitely come up. I'm gonna follow up with them and say, hey, you know, what new things, what information on my end. I'm actually looking at bringing in like a college intern, and you know they're playing with stuff all the time, which is great because they're bringing their natural curiosity experience. But on the flip side, is there a primer? Do you have an entry level class? Is there a YouTube video? Like, because we want best practice, you know, get them started with good habits, right?
Yeah. So there are tons of YouTube videos out there. There are beginner courses in Udemy and stuff like that. The only thing I would say about those is that they seem to be geared towards an individual who's playing around. They're not really geared towards a software company who's trying to leverage it internally. But it's a good starting point, just so that it's kind of like going to driver's ed is a good idea, just so you know the basics of driving a car. But if you're really wanting to build a car, then hopefully you're way past that. But there, we could work with your team. But I would probably, if you haven't done anything at all, I would probably just do a little YouTube searching. But at some point, what you're going to find is the YouTube videos are all about, you can make millions of dollars by this one prompt. And then when you go see the prompt, it's just garbage, right? But that's what we try to do, is build prompts that are scalable, so that everybody in the organization, which is why we have that library. So everybody in the organization knows which prompt to use, and they just paste it in, and you have consistency, and you don't have people constantly going and rewriting paragraphs and having dialogues with ChatGPT and then getting thrown in GPT jail. We want to create standards across the organization so that it actually improves productivity, and you're not burning productivity trying to figure out how to push the buttons. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your support. We are now 2 minutes past the buzzer, but y'all have a great day. And if I can do anything to help you, let me know. Appreciate y'all coming.
Great.
Bye
Thank
now.
you.
You bet.